I'm doing one.
I do one. You can do one, and then
And
I'll
you do.
do three.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'm gonna do one and two then.
Yep.
Or I don't know. I guess it depends on the time of the responses because
Yeah.
last time took a long time.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm not in there.
I know. All right, you guys, listen, we are here doing this, the Revolutionary Educator Conference. This is internalization
Right.
with some revolutionary queens. I'm gonna do like my boy Chevy with the black girl magic that's in the building.
Yes.
So super excited. You want to jump in with them, or you want to let them introduce? How we doing this?
You know what? I'm definitely excited to have this panel to kick off our day one of the conference and for it to be representing Women History Month with our Black queens.
Mhm.
So if y'all have a lot that y'all do. So if you guys can just I don't want to mess up on anyone's bio. So you can just give us a quick intro of who you are and what you do and what your role is in education.
All right. We're going to start with Noemi because she looked like she ready.
You're muted though. Sis.
Hi, everyone. My name is Noemi Pavone, as in I did not win an Emmy Award yet, Noemi. I am the CEO and founder of the Pavone Leadership Firm. We're a national educational and leadership coaching firm. We focus a lot of our work in education, coaching senior and mid-level managers, both current and aspiring. And we're really about revolutionizing the educational space and creating liberating spaces. And when our leaders are liberated, our kids, we give permission for them to be liberated as well. So Thank you for having me.
Okay. Okay, Shannon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Channing White. I'm an elementary public school educator, currently teaching third grade, mentor and advocate, and just all around passionate about the world of education.
Awesome.
Dope.
My fellow teacher.
Keisha.
Hi, my name is Keisha Green. I'm an assistant principal in New York City in the Bronx.
And I must say, you got listen, y'all, nobody mess with Keisha. Her teachers will come and get you if you say anything.
100%.
Her teacher, if y'all are out there, listen, I'm rocking with your group of teachers because you guys don't play. All right, Khadijah, go ahead.
Hello, how's everyone? Thank you so much for having me. My name is Khadijah Smith. I am a school leader here in the Maryland area. For a K-8 school, I also help empower parents to raise independent and grittier children. So that's my work.
Dope. And I must say this, she is an awesome karaoke finish the lyric person. I did witness, I felt her being able to perform. So great. That black girl magic is real. And then last, Deidre, Miss Black Girl Teach. Go ahead.
Hey, everybody. My name is Deidre. I am an DC-based educator, a consultant, and the founder of Black Girls Teach. I work with organizations, schools around the country to be able to work with their schools to be able to support with teacher retention. I also work with Black women educators to empower them and provide them with professional development that is aligned to their needs.
Awesome. Okay, I feel so motivated already listening just to what the work that you guys are already doing in your communities. So I'm going to kick it off with our first question about being a Black woman education. We know that the education field is dominated by women, but in that only 6.7% are Blacks, right? So that's pretty low. So as Black educators, how would you define your role and your importance as a Black female educator?
Anyone want to jump in?
Sure, I'll start. Because it's so important that my face and my reflection is needed for my students. I think it is, my presence is pretty much an affirmation for them every day, that it is possible, you are possible. And that whole confidence is enough to say that whatever your circumstances are, you can prevail. Whatever it is, you can succeed. So I think of my presence as an affirmation as I walk through my school.
Yes.
Go.
Keisha, are you going to go?
Keisha, was you coming in? Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we got you.
Actually, what I was saying is I can't hear anybody except for you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we got you. We
hear you.
So go. Could you? So do you want to answer that question or?
So my role as educational leader is that I provide support to teachers, training for teachers. I support my principal in maintaining the safety of our building and our students. One moment, guys. My home life is calling.
No worries.
All good.
So while she comes back, if anyone else wants to tap in on what do you think your role is as a Black female educator? How would you define your role?
I'll say something very quickly. I think for Black women, like historically, we have been educators for so long. Going back into time, like we've always been educators. And I think for myself, I see my role as a Black woman educator as a visionary, as the folks that are the thought leaders, because oftentimes in education, Black women are behind the scenes making a lot of decisions, making a lot of reform, making a lot of changes. And when I look at the way that education is transforming right now, I see Black women educators at the forefront leading that change.
All right. Definitely.
Dope. Anyone else want to tap in? Keisha, you back? Go ahead, Noemi.
Oh, she's back. I think Keisha, are you back? Okay, yeah, come on. You can wrap up and then we'll jump to Noemi.
No, just to go, I completely apologize. Home life calls. I agree. I second everything that Deidre said. It's about truly being the visionary for what education could possibly become, and not only being the visionary, but being action oriented and actually going in and putting in that footwork and making sure that these changes are brought to fruition. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Can I say this too? Because I think what I find, and I know I'm jumping in as I'm tapping in real quick, right? But it's like for Black women, I say this all the time. Like in education, you're Black and you're a woman, right? Mm-hmm. You have two things that is an existing force while you're trying to liberate young people, young women of color, and everybody, right? At times, like. And this is me just learning. Like this is learning. Like I'm part of this panel and we were discussing questions, but it's a learning process. It's so empowering to see and observe, and while also acknowledging like my Black male privilege in education, right? And I want to talk a little bit about that. But what impacts has happened with being a Black woman in education, and you're like fierce and you're like pushing? Do you find that wearing and tearing, and how do you cope with that? Go ahead, Noemi.
Yeah, so I can speak to, briefly, to the previous question. I see Black women, I see us as assets, I see us as truth tellers, I see us as liberators, right? Because whether we're on the front lines or behind the scenes, that is the work that we do day in and day out. To your point, absolutely. There is burnout that comes with that. We wear our superwoman capes all the time, whether it's in the school building or outside of the school building. And the challenges that come with that is often the silencing, the minimizing, the undermining. There's this whole tokenized hire thing going on right now, where every organization is checking a box. Let's get Black women into this organization, into leadership. But what really happens when we start speaking up, when we start talking about being the truth tellers, when we are the liberators, right? That's when the silencing begins, and that takes an emotional toll on us.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Shannon, I want to tap you in because you bring so much passion in regards to your advocacy work, right? And I want to know a little bit more about that process and driving you as a Black woman, and like that thing, right? That you're Black and you're woman in a system. Let's be honest. In education, we are in one of the most bullied professions in America, right? Like when it comes to pay, when it comes to value, like what keeps you driving as a Black woman being an advocate so much as an educator?
Well, I am the representation that I needed. I am the permission that new teachers need to be their authentic selves.
Mm-hmm.
I am the sacrifice that was needed in order to push against the status quo. So when I am showing up every day and I'm making the conscious decision to not conform, not be complacent, to give those nuggets of wisdom to the mentors or the mentees, I am fulfilling my purpose. It's much deeper than my years right now in education. I'm thinking in 20 years from now, what is education going to be like because I stood up, because I did not conform, because I was more than a conqueror. I was brave. I had courage, and I can sleep well at night knowing I did my due diligence. So the work is passing the baton on to the next and carrying it throughout the journey, like Deidre and Khadijah and all those beautiful women said. So we're just here to do the work collectively.
Awesome.
Listen. When Shannon speak, you just gotta listen because she drops so much. But go ahead. I have to walk.
Well, I think that was a great question. I don't know if anyone else want to tap in on that question that spoke previously.
I do want to tap in on what Principal Ross said, which is very pivotal for every Black woman who has experienced education. Black women have forever historically been leaders and independent in this movement called freedom and liberation. And learning about Ida B. Wells and different people who are on the front line and being independent in those spaces, how people have tagged on to us our causes, what happened with the women's suffrage movement and these kind of things where the white women then took it on as their own. And that happens so much in our educational spaces. We'll speak up, we'll be the first one to say it, then they'll latch on and it becomes their movement versus this is what we needed to be liberated. This is where we need our voices to be heard. And then we then get, and a lot of this is changing now because we have more Black women leading, right? We have organizations like these Black women are leading in this space, but that has been our history. We have been kicked out when desegregation happened. We've lost our jobs. We've been on the back burner and our voice is finally being heard, but forever we continue. I know people have, in my history, white women have tacked on their issues onto mine. And now now we're looking at the white woman as, okay, so she's bringing these educational issues and what my plight is for my children is lessened and not heard.
Like when you said that, and I think some more people may have tapped in. I see Deidre like, listen, I'm about to jump in there. But you know what resonated with me was it's like historically, Black women has always had this brilliance and leadership, and this Black woman brilliance has been almost like stripped to turn into somebody else's excellence.
Hijacked.
Right? Yeah. Hijacked to turn into someone's excellence. So, and I'm just thinking this is totally off script, but I'm just like, as a learner here, collectively, right? In education, we're in a new world of education. What are some things that we could do to collectively heal and collectively support Black women in education? And I'm speaking in behalf of a Black male, white female educators who consider themselves revolutionary allies, those co-conspirators. What are those steps to collectively heal in regards of the historical trauma, right? That Black women has faced throughout being an educator, especially as you guys maneuver through this system? Like what does that look like?
I definitely like to say, I think that it's about dismantling toxic think processes, things that have been taught to us many years, like quotes like behind every great man, there's a greater woman. Why are we behind a man? And we teach that like, oh, feel proud about yourself. That as a woman, you are helping him be the great man that he can be. He wouldn't be anything without you. But even in that statement, behind is that behind factor, and that's that type of language. Like language is so important. It's very it's poisoning. It's very poisoning. But let's hear from the panel, ladies. Go ahead.
This is something that I've done research on, and a lot of the research often goes back to like creating safe spaces for Black women to be able to be their most authentic selves, to be able to discuss these different challenges. And I think that a lot of organizations oftentimes, like when we're talking about like DEI work and professional development, they were not centering Black women enlightenment. We're not centering or creating spaces for us to be able to do that work. So what we have to do is we have to create them ourselves instead of just like waiting on folks. And that can look like, you know, on a large scale, but even on a small scale, even like in your building, you know, affinity groups, like you have to be able to advocate for those things. And I think for Black male educators who do have privilege in education, the first step is like, number one, acknowledging your privilege, because I feel like that's something that's a new thing for many Black male educators to even say aloud. And number two, being able to use your privilege to be able to create opportunities for Black women to continue to be able to thrive. Because right now, many of us are just surviving. Like we are literally surviving like every single day. While doing this work that we're doing, advocacy and consulting and all these things, right? We're still just surviving. And so I think those folks that have privilege need to continue advocating and creating spaces for us to be able to unpack all of all these different things and all the trauma that many of us have experienced, sometimes in our own schools.
Usually in our own schools.
Right.
Wow. I mean, as a school leader, because you're talking about inside outside play. You're talking about inside outside with how we create spaces. And I do want to say this too. And then Keisha, I want to ask you a question as a school leader. Like, what are some practical things that we could do? And Khadijah, right? And Noemi, I want to ask you, because you're on the outside. Like, how do we connect the dots? And then Shannon, you'll bring it home as a teacher. But I want to just ask this, like, as a Black male educator, I'll just be completely transparent and honest that it got me to this point as a founding principal to really learn and unlearn in the impacts of my privilege as a Black male, right? Knowing that I represent 2%, knowing that, you know, there were many people that were more qualified than me, especially Black women that were more qualified for me, even for my position, but the scarcity, right, like of Black males in education has helped. All these type of things like impact like a thought process, and also takes unlearning in regards of how I, even through my actions, can continue those cycles, right? Of, you know, taking Black women brilliance and hijacking that to excellence while they're stripped and left behind. So I think that's important to say. And I just want to thank you, Deidre, for bringing that up. So Keisha, can you tell us like what are practical or systemic things that you have done in regards of creating a safe space for your educators and specifically around Black women?
Well, I think the one thing that we do well is acknowledging the importance of collective voices. So we often do create affinity groups where educators are able to be in those safe spaces to share any fears, ideas that they may have. So I think one of the things that we do very well is that we 100% model humility as school leaders, because we don't have the answers, right? Our teachers are the ones that are in the classrooms. They have those tight-knit relationships with students and with families. So we acknowledge and we understand the importance of bringing them to the table and hearing what they're saying, and then taking those ideas together and trying to merge and find a middle ground for our core values and for the vision that we have for the community at large. So, and I think that's why when you see my teachers rallying, regardless of what,
well, they rally. They don't.
Because we 100% listen to them, because my teachers are dope. There's no other way to put it. They're amazing.
They don't play. Listen, y'all. Listen, for all y'all that's listening, they do not play about their leader. Good for you, Keisha.
Because that shows that you created a culture and a community there.
That's right.
So your staff and the culture you have is a reflection of you and your leadership. So keep going, sis.
Yeah. Khadijah and then Noemi. Oh, you good? Okay. Noemi, you want to tap in with some of the work that you're doing? Because you people don't know, you have a full woman leadership, right? That focuses on empowering women as leaders to do some of the work that Keisha, Khadijah, Deidre, and Shannon do, right? So could you talk a little bit about why that work is important and what drove you to do that work?
Yeah. So something that I didn't say earlier is I'm a former turnaround high school principal. I'm a native New Yorker, and I ended up in South Carolina in the middle of nowhere, turning around this high school that serves.
That had to be a shock going from New York to South Carolina. Going to New York to South Carolina, okay.
Yeah, from New York, Atlanta, then South Carolina. But needless to say, Solidarity, Healing, and Empowerment, it is a 60-day program. And that was birthed from my turnaround experience as a school principal, Black school principal, Afro-Latina school principal in these spaces. Mm-hmm. And what internally, because you spoke to internal, so I'll speak a little bit to internal, then external, what we're seeing right now consistently across the board, is that internally, had I had a space to talk about, I felt like I was the only one experiencing what I was experiencing. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is that when I started to tap into my network where I felt safe, I started to realize, oh my God, we are all going through so much of the same things, and we feel unsafe, insecure to share it with anyone. So we carry this burden, and it literally takes a toll on us if we don't have those spaces or create those spaces. And for me, I think for us, we were turning around this school. There was so much good stuff, but there were a lot of things wrong on every level that I didn't think to create a space for us. Right. And so some concrete pieces of advice here, consistently what we see with the women of color, and Solidarity, Healing, Empowerment is for women of color in school principalship, district leaders, or even school-based leaders. And what we see is I don't always feel confident. I don't always feel affirmed. I need a place to put my cape down and actually just talk. Like, I just want to talk without judgment. I want to be affirmed. Right. And those spaces are very little. Right. I want someone to look after my well-being before they care about my scores or about my observations or about the standardized, results and all of that. And so if we could create, to Deidre's point, those affinity spaces, sometimes we need to bring in someone from the outside that has nothing to do with what's happening in your school. So a big plug right here for every school is invest in your Black women.
Right. Wow. That's
good.
Hey, listen, invest in Black women. Shannon, I wanted to tap you in, and then Deidre, you can bring us home. You actually participate in something externally, right? In regards of the empowerment circle, and could you talk a little bit about the importance of having a village and the empowerment circle, and how does that impact you in the school? Right? Was there any correlation with how now you feel fulfilled or anything like that with being a part of an external empowerment group specifically for Black women, and how that correlates for your practice inside the school?
Sure. I would like to say that in my initial experience with teaching, I was able to find my own affinity group, so to speak. We don't always have to be managed. We'll draw to each other's unique interests and souls naturally if we're just left alone for a minute to interact and engage authentically. However, I'm in an experience now where I need this outside resource to sustain me because I'm not getting that in my school. When I enter a DEI workshop, white people are at the center. I am not seen, I'm not heard, and it doesn't mean I'm not speaking, y'all. But we don't listen to Black women because we're not palatable, our tone isn't right, it may be my mannerisms. There's always a reason why we're not listening. So I reached out to Black Girls Teach, and yes, it has filled my cup. We interact with each other socially and professionally, and I'm able to be intellectual and just be relaxed and be all of the layers of a Black woman and be accepted for it and not intimidated by it. Because we speak a language that we all have these same experiences, and we share the same things in the school building. So Black Girls Teach has been everything to me. I've gotten 2 friends to even come in to 2 of the events because I believe that every Black woman should have it. If you don't have it in your school building, go out and find it.
every time she speaks, I'm just like, I'm telling you, Shannon, I don't know if you don't got no, you just, your voice is so empowering. And I know I'm gonna get to you, Black Girls, but I just want to say, I want to give you flowers right now, live, while we here. Listen, y'all, listen. We are here, internalization with our Black girls, Black girl magic, but Black women. And I'm just hearing Shannon, and you're speaking to my spirit, right? You're speaking to my soul, because what you talked about is a village, right? Yeah. Like, you talk about the importance of a village. And I always say it's love, living and learning off of village energy. And what you describe is a village energy that Black women specifically, we have to build, curate, empower. And know what I also heard, Shannon, is when to just leave you, just get you your space, right? So,
we know what we like. We know what we like. We're good.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I think Keisha's tap in.
No, what I was saying is I couldn't hear anything Shannon was saying, but I could tell she was spitting pure fire from the movement, the body language, and then in reference to what Roger said, sometimes as Black women, we do know we just got to know when we got to just grab our purse and get our things later. Like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
That's
and I think awesome. It's really powerful for, like, for people to know if you don't have it at your community, to go seek it. Because oftentimes I do think as teachers, we're waiting for our admin or our leadership to provide it, but it's taking action to your own hands and going after it. So one thing I've always been preaching for the past year or two is protecting my purpose. Like, we're in this field for a reason, and I'm not going to allow for this situation or this person to interfere with what God has called me to do. So I think it's so great that you protected your purpose and you found the resources that you need, because sometimes the principals, the district doesn't have the resources, right, and they don't have the knowledge, that resource to know what you need. So we know what we need, right? So we have to sometimes go out and get it and bring it back, because some people don't even know they need saving too. Yeah, bring it back. All right, thank you. So go ahead, Deidre. You're gonna tap in. It's all about the Black Girl Teach.
Yes. Yeah, you gotta end it with it.
I was just gonna. I love hearing Channing speak. I mean, I swear, like, every time I feel the same way that you feel whenever she's talking. I'm just like, yes, I just love it. I'm always smiling so hard. Yes. And I think, with our empowerment circle, it really is a space that centers the needs of Black women educators. And it really came from just a place of, like, trying to provide all the things that I didn't have, all the things I didn't have in my experience, and all the things that I needed, all the things that my circle of friends needed. Back early in the days of Black Girls Teach, like Khadijah, we would have our meetings. We would be talking about all of these issues that we are experiencing as Black women and trying to be able to find a solution to it. And I think that one thing that I have been able to see is really, the Black Girls Teach empowerment circle community, but then also just like different communities really like aligning with one another and really forming a village, right? So like the community that has like with Teachers for Good Trouble, folks that have tapped into that. We have some white allies that have been participating in a lot of our events, and it really feels like a village to the point where it's like now we're shifting to the place of cooperative economics, where it's like, okay, I have an opportunity for you. I have an opportunity for you. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, and that's a beautiful thing because that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Like, we got to put one another on because that folks been doing that for years, right? It's our time to do it. It's our time to be able to leverage our skills, sharpen our skill sets, learn from one another, right? Push one another, give each other feedback, create those spaces to grow, but then like get this money together collectively and pour it back into the community. Period.
Right. Wait, listen. Hey, Khadijah just like.
Period. Come on, Khadijah, unmute.
That's it, because that's what we miss. We advocate free, and all the advocates is broke, right? And that's not what it's about. You can't make serious change in this country if we don't realize that we live in a capitalistic society. Right? So if we don't understand that and we don't generate revenue, we're a bunch of poor teachers complaining about pay, complaining. But once our economics start moving and we start that money only circulating through us, now people are gonna be like, what's the problem? What they say, what they need? Yes, because the money's not going to you anymore because the experts are here at the table. So now it's not going outside anymore. So now when Teachers for Good Trouble say we don't want standardized tests, what is that financial impact if we don't give them what they need? That's the impact that they understand. And that's what we are always missing. That's what we miss at the table, the financial impact.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think coming in, right, what you're talking about, Khadijah, and it's a Nguzo Saba principle, right? Cooperative economics. Right. And we talk about self-determination, Kuji Chakalia, but now we're trying to make that collective determination, village determination, right? And I just want to say this. I just want to thank you guys for your time, right? We've been this conversation, just being in the room as a Black male, listening, learning, unlearning, unpacking, right? It's been an honor for me, and it's also, and I'm gonna selfishly say it, it's an honor to have such creative, brilliant Black women that I can call friends, right? That's doing this work all across the nation. I just want to thank you guys for taking time to be here. And I know we got one last thing that we want to just ask each one of you guys go around. If you had that one message to give to educators, because we got educators all across the nation tuning in.
Right.
What would you tell them about how they should be supporting Black women in education? We'll start with Noemi.
2 words: create space.
Boom.
That's it.
Shannon.
I would say believe Black women. Believe our intellect, believe our vulnerability, believe our transparency, believe Black women, and everything else will fall into place.
Yeah.
Keisha.
I would say uplift and support one another.
Yes.
Dope. Khadijah.
I would say know when to listen. I think everybody wants to talk. Like sometimes it's just listen. And that's all we need. Most of us just want to be heard in our spaces. So know when to just listen.
And I agree with what everybody said. Oh, right?
No, I'm just
you trying to listen.
I'm just listening. Go ahead.
Open mouth.
I was like, what's going on?
I'm just following along.
I agree with what everybody said. I'm going to add compensation. Pay us. Pay us. A lot of us are doing a lot of things for free. Yeah. And even and some folks who are paying us, you're not paying us like how you paying the men. You're not paying us in that same capacity, right? But we get hit to the game. So we're finding out these things. So pay us, compensate us appropriately.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you, ladies,
for being here. Thank you guys for being revolutionary. Thank you, women, right? Thank you, women, for being revolutionary. I'm sorry. I gotta work on that. I gotta work on that. Look, I gotta work on that. But no, just honestly, thank you for being here. We appreciate you guys. And let's continue on with the Revolutionary Educator Conference. All right, you guys. Boom.
Awesome. Thank you. I wish these panels would be like forever.
I know.